So talk about that mental chatter that goes on in that race or in business or whatever it might be, where you're like, I don't ever want to run ever again, but I'm going to do one more mile or one more step, or I'm going to make it to that tree or whatever it is. Like, what's going on in your head? And talk about the power of the spoken word, because I know it's very important as well.
Yeah, for sure. You cannot and you will not ever completely cut out that negative self-talk that creeps in, right? That stuff that creeps into your head that, we've been talking about here. And you're just never going to completely silence that. It's always going to rear its ugly head. We all have those thoughts of quitting, of stopping, of coming up short. We all have that temptation. It exists always. The best way to kind of mitigate that, though, is to make sure that you're feeding your mind with good content. So be hyper aware of your input. And that's the podcast you're listening to. That's the music you're listening to. That's all the things that you're scrolling online, what you're looking at on social media. It's extremely important to be hyper aware of that, and to be disciplined about cutting the things out that are going to really feed that negative self-talk. That's way too extreme for most people to refuse to do that. They just refuse to clean up the things that they're consuming in terms of media. They're just overwhelmed by it, and they just refuse to do it. Well, the reality is, if you want to be the best, you're going to have to take drastic measures. Not even like the best in the world, but I'm just talking about if you want to be the best that you can be within your industry, within your sport, within whatever, the best that you can possibly be, you're going to have to take drastic measures. And it's going to look silly to other people around you. They're not going to understand it. They're never going to understand why you choose to not listen to this freaking terrible music that is just propagated throughout, everything, these freaking terrible podcasts, some of the biggest podcasts out there that people just consume like it's candy. It's just trash, man. Like 90% of it is just literal trash. And they're just consuming it as fast as they can. And that's what everybody else around you does. I look at it as a good thing. Do you understand how easy it is to win? Because everyone else around you, their standards are so low for themselves, for the things they're consuming. Like, their standards are freaking so low, it's ridiculous. These simple things, and you can just crush everyone around you. So that's the way to mitigate it. But it's still going to creep in when things get really, really difficult. And you should never voice that negative self-talk. You shouldn't, because you know what that becomes? It becomes complaining. That's what it is. It's complaining. And there's nothing good going to come out of that. All you're going to do is feed that negative self-talk, that negative thought. You're just feeding it. You're making it more powerful. So choose not to even mention it. Choose not to give it a voice, man. And the best way to combat it actively is to actually find some good things to talk about. Talk about where you're going, what your goals are. Talk about what you have to be thankful for. And I mean, talk about these things. I mean, whoever's around you, if somebody's around you, spark up a conversation about something positive and meaningful. And if nobody's around you, just say them to yourself. The spoken word is more powerful than that negative self-talk. I don't quite understand it, how the science of it. There's a bunch of people smarter than me that have done science on all this stuff. I don't give a crap about the science, man. That's not my thing. I just know it works. That's all I need to know. I don't need to know how it works. I just need to know that it works. And it does work. The things that you say are absolutely powerful. And they're steering your business, your life, your health, your mental health, your family. They're steering you in a positive or a negative direction. And if you can tame your tongue, man, you can't lose. You're gonna win. Because again, this is even harder. It's even harder to tame your tongue, to take control of your rudder, than it is to even clean up the input, the things you're watching and listening to. These are some of the most powerful things that I have discovered, but have been known for literally thousands of years. These things have been known for thousands of years. I discovered them on my own, just through the repetitions of doing extremely hard things, and I had to figure out what worked to get me through them. But they've been around for a long time.
Yeah, it's so interesting. I think, and again, I'm guilty of it too, right? We're all looking for that quick trick and the new hack or whatever it might be. And these are things that have existed since the beginning of time. I credit you to inspiring one of our core values at our company, Contractor Dynamics, and my personal core value of being impeccable with your word. When you talked about, I feel outstanding, not giving your pain a voice, and then reading about being impeccable with your word in the book, The 4 Agreements, that became one of our core values. And our kids are 8 and 11 right now, 9 and 11. And from an early age, or a few years ago, I started telling them that the word can't is a bad word. So you don't say it. And I even trained our team to say it. Elizabeth, who was our COO, when she first started a few years ago, I kind of got on her about that. And now it's funny to hear her navigate around that word by using other words. And we joke around about it, but it's so true and so powerful.
It is, man. It is. And just to let all the listeners know, understand, again, you're not going to be perfect at this when you first decide to, endeavor to clean up the way you talk and to clean up your input and all this. You're not going to be perfect at it. Again, it's going to take time. It's going to take discipline. It's going to take effort. And if you're willing to make the effort, it's going to change everything about your life, man. I guess the reason most people don't want to make the effort to do this is they're okay with just being mediocre. I mean, honestly, I think the majority of our society is just okay with being mediocre. I'm not okay with that. Personally, that's why I have to do these things. That's why these things are so important to me. So if you're okay with just being, some sort of average version of who you could be, if you're okay with wasting your life, with wasting your potential, with wasting the gifts that you have every single day, and just allowing all that to be buried, in a graveyard somewhere one day after you die. If you're okay with that, none of this is going to resonate with you. But if you're not okay with that, I'm telling you how to begin to get the most out of who you are and who you can be.
Yeah, definitely not everyone gets it. And that was one of the things I wanted to bring up, actually. I think a lot of people kind of waffle around and just kind of consume all different types of things and go in different directions because they never really get clear on what they want. They don't have that conviction. And looking at you, whether it's been succeeding as a Navy SEAL, achieving victory in a race where you say, there's 2 outcomes. I'm either going to achieve victory or my body is going to physically break down. You have that conviction. And I think not a lot of people have that. They just don't know what they want, right?
Yeah, they don't know what they want, which is simple to figure out what you want. You should want to be the best possible version of yourself. Are you wondering what you want out of life? Well, I want to die one day saying there is nothing else I could have done to have made this time any better. I gave it all, man. There's nothing left on the table. I did everything I wanted to do. I did everything that I could do. I took every opportunity to grow. I took every opportunity to serve others. I did all of that. And I know that's a big deal. And I realize that I am going to have regrets one day when I die because I'm not perfect. But I'm at least going to strive for that. What do I want, man? I don't want to get to the end here, the end of this thing, and say, man, I should have took that trip. I should have did that race. I should have served this person. I should have did more with my business so that I could leave my family in a better situation or help the customer better. Like, that's what you should want. There's nothing really specific about that. It's taking life day by day and maximizing the opportunity in each day, finding opportunity, creating opportunity, and then maximizing what you have to offer day by day by day. Another thing people have a problem with, Joe, is committing. Like, I think that's another thing. You said, well, people don't know what they want, but I think people also have a problem with committing, and that's another reason that they never achieve anything great or big, or they never reach their potential. To do something big or special, like, you have to be willing to commit to that path. When that thing presents itself, you have to be willing to commit to it, because anything big is going to require a process to attain or to achieve. And that process may be years long. And people have a freaking problem committing to things that are a year, even just a year out. I mean, it's like the courses, like the training courses we run, man. Like, we can't even send invitations out maybe 2 months prior to the course, because if I send an invitation out to somebody and the course is a year out, they can't they're not going to commit to that. And I'm like, man, if you can't even commit to something that you want to do a year out, like, you're never going to achieve anything. Like, my goals are so big, man. Like, I have to be willing to commit to something that's 10 years out. And I'm willing to do that, So get over it, dude.